Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chet.
And this is Martin.
And I'm Kathleen, visiting today.
And we're excited to win with Kathleen Winn.
That's right.
So tell us about why you chose to run for Congress.
Well, it's an open seat, and so there's no incumbent. And I am looking at what's happening in this country and what's happening around the world, and we need to create a checks and balances with this presidency. It's all Democrats right now running this country, and it's being run right into the ground. And we need to be able to hold them accountable for the decisions they're making. And they're making really bad decisions that are affecting our public safety, our quality of life. And I'm an America first kind of person. If we make America strong, the world is strong. And we are doing everything in our power to destroy America right now.
I love what you're saying, America first, America number one. Well, how would you, how are you going to deal with the climate of this polarization, with the politics? It's so polarized.
Well, I think that if we look at the issues that we are seeing, immigration issues and just public safety, security of the country, I don't think those are Republican versus Democrat issues. I think Democrats want to be safe. I think Democrats want to have children taken care of. They don't want their kids being trafficked. Mm-hmm. So there's many issues where we should be able to collaborate and solve the problem and leave our political bias at the door. And I think collaboration has somehow become a dirty word, and I think we need to reinvent that and say, here's the problem. Everyone bring their best ideas, and then let's see what we've got. But it takes changing that. If we continue to just fight with each other, nothing gets done. And I think
exactly that's why it's so important. You have to bring people together.
Yes, and I've worked across the aisle my whole life. From the homeless shelter I founded in Tucson over 34 years ago to changing laws just last week with Mesa for massage parlors. None of those things were political. They were in the best interest of the communities that they were serving. And we have to get to that way of thinking again. What is best for America? What is best for the state? What is best for the community? What is best for us as human beings? Because
I love that. That's so important.
Yeah.
Well, and you were talking about how safety and security should be a universal issue. That's why it's so insane that there's so much support behind the defund the police movement, because the reason why so many people try to migrate here is because we have such stable laws because of our police and our military. That's why so many people want to migrate here for a chance to participate in this amazing economy. And that is all the groundwork for that is laid for because of our police and military.
Arizona has some of the best, if not the best, law enforcement officers in the country.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We do such great work. And if you think about it, we're a destination, right? People come to Arizona for vacation. The Super Bowl is going to be here in 2023. And so what that takes is...
Yay.
Yes.
Oh, it's a big vacation spot. Yeah. I was just in Old Town this past weekend. I met girls over here from a bachelorette party from Colorado, from Chicago, all over the country. Yeah.
Downtown, Old Town Scottsdale, right?
Yeah.
That's the hangout place.
Exactly, yeah.
Those police are extra busy on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
We love our police, and we cannot defund the police.
Well, yeah, and there's been basically an experiment over the past year. Some of these liberal towns that have really defunded the police have gotten pretty unsafe. And
such as Seattle, right, Kathleen?
Yes.
Seattle, Portland.
Portland's disaster.
Yeah, there's a lot of cities.
What's happening?
Well,
for those of us that are not listening to the news because we're kind of tired of it.
Well, some of the cities where they've actually really started defunding the police, there's literally less cops working, so there's not enough resources to investigate small crimes, small assaults, aren't even getting investigated or taken care of.
What you have is
unbelievable.
So if you attack a profession, and we've been attacking police now for 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. So do young people then want to go into a profession where it's not even respected and it's already dangerous? So you have less people. You have less people going into classes,
and it's not getting paid well. So what is the upside?
Right, exactly.
Just the honorable side that you're keeping people safe, but if people aren't appreciating that,
no.
Yeah.
And so what the unintended consequences or the intended consequence, depending on how you look at this, is your communities don't have enough police force. Phoenix PD, as a matter of fact, is probably down over 1,000 officers. And we are growing. So you spoke about how we're growing.
1,000 officers
yeah.
were down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, go out there, apply. We love the police.
Well, and so you have to understand that your city managers, your city councils, it all plays a part because they set the tone for how much money goes where. So are we recruiting? Are we retaining officers? Are we taking care of our officers? Are we giving them the resources they need? It's one
Yeah,
thing.
and it's ironic because where a lot of this came from, well, there has been, cases of police brutality, like what happened to George Floyd was absolutely horrible. But what in reality, that police department needed more funding so that they could vet the officers better and train them better so that doesn't happen. And instead, people are saying, oh, we should defund the police. No, they need to be paid more, and it needs to be more selective and even more training so that doesn't happen in the first place.
Yeah, I think police actually do a great job of weeding out the bad actors.
Yeah.
The police themselves are really committed to this. They don't want bad officers working with them, and they'll do everything they can. And they have checks and balance systems. They have internal affairs. They have their own way of setting things up. I know that our chiefs of police all communicate, and they try to work together so that raises the floor for everyone. We have to do a better job of taking care of our communities, and your police, your public safety is one of the critical functions that a city provides. And we can't not have that.
And you're seeing that by these basically mini exoduses of people that are moving from, California and Washington and Oregon to, Texas, Arizona, Florida, because, we're still funding the police and, keeping our businesses open so that economy can thrive.
Downtown LA is like a war zone right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unrecognizable. San Francisco, needles on the street, homeless everywhere.
Poop on the street.
Yes, that
My
too.
friend was
Seriously?
no,
Yeah,
my
seriously.
friend was trying to convince me to come and visit him this summer, and then we were just talking about San Francisco, and he's like, "Yeah, but the one thing is
Let's
there's,
keep it clean."
There's so much just human
Excrement.
excrement
Yeah.
everywhere," and I was like, I don't really want to go vacation in a dirty place like that.
They've taken one of
Yeah.
the most beautiful cities in the world and destroyed it, and that's unfortunate if you actually see these policies in action, then you can see that.
So, Kathleen, what is the solution? I want to hear the solution and what you would do when you're in Congress.
So Congress deals more with making laws on a federal level, right? So
Right.
we still have states' rights. So police are pretty much mandated by their own local communities. But we have to ensure that we have safe communities, that we can't have
That's first.
we can't have what we have currently. We have an open border right now. So we have 200,000 people entering this state every month. So as a federal thing,
200,000 every month.
every month. We've had over 96 different countries present themselves at the Yuma border in the last 90 days. 96 countries. So that's not just Mexico. That's not just Central America. Where are these people coming from? And why are they coming into our country? And we're not vetting them. So we don't even know who's in our country right now. And that's scary.
So we're possibly letting in lots of criminals.
There's been a 3,000% increase in sexual predators coming into our country. We have now become a sanctuary country for people that have committed and been convicted of sex crimes.
It's very important for people to know Kathleen Winn is instrumental in fighting against sex crimes.
Yeah, sex crimes, sex trafficking, human trafficking. And unfortunately, with that kind of climate and already not enough police and not, unknown persons in our country, what's going to happen? So in Congress does have the authority to make laws, to make changes, to affect things where we enforce. And we have the laws. This is a sad thing. We have the right laws. We're not enforcing them. So there's got to be federal mandates or federal instruction to close our borders, to finish the wall, to do the things that we said we were going to do that made us secure just 8 months ago. This all has happened in 8 months. That's what's so terrifying.
Well, in a lot of ways, international sex trafficking is only possible with weak borders because that's the only way to get women kidnapped in and out of the country. Mm-hmm. If we had really secure borders, there wouldn't be any way to kidnap a woman and take her out of the United States.
Well, there's that.
Good point.
There's a great point. And if you go south right now and you go through, we have 7 checkpoints coming into the state. They're all closed down. And if you wanted to drive into Nogales or into Mexico right now, there's no one to stop you. So if you had a body in the trunk of your car and you were going into Mexico, there's no one to check in your car as you leave the country. So if I'm running criminal enterprises,
I have chills right now. Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
yes. Yeah, and if you've got criminal enterprises running across the border, there's no one checking our borders. We need people that understand that to go to Congress. That's why I'm signing up for this. I believe.
Thank you so much for your service. We're so excited because you're going to win.
Well, okay.
Kathleen Winn is going to win.
I had some friends that went to Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and they said that like on the way back there was kind of a line, but they didn't even end up checking their bags or their passports. They were just like, "Oh yeah, go in."
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give us more solutions of how you're going to make this country amazing and why you're running for Congress and all your credentials as well.
Well, I'm old, so I've experienced a
No,
lot.
you're not old.
I have, my husband spent his career in the defense industry. I'm not the defense expert, but I had a front row seat. He built and designed and built the Apache attack helicopter. That's our favorite helicopter at our house. I think it's around the world. It's actually pretty well loved too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And defense contracting is important because we need a strong defense. And I always believed, and I will always believe, that if the U.S. is strong, the world is strong, because we keep what's happened in Afghanistan after 37 hours, not 37 days. We left 37 hours. That whole country fell apart because we had created and made that stable for 20 years. We're gone 37 hours. And now you have terrorists that are running that country.
And it's frustrating because you would have thought that if they were going to pull out, they would have had some kind of a plan so that they could have kept the power for the people that are trying to, have a somewhat free culture there, because that's what they were trying to foster.
They were, but you have to understand there's thousands of years of the way it used to be.
Oh yeah.
And 20 years of us doing it the way that we were. And we left behind our equipment, we left behind our
How can we leave the equipment?
We
It's
did.
like, isn't it like billions of dollars of equipment?
It's like $40 billion worth of just, I think, Apaches that we left.
That's real efficient.
Well, Apaches,
Sarcasm.
Black Hawks,
yeah.
and armament. So
and the drones?
and everything. So and what you've seen is the Taliban take them and hang bodies from the Black Hawks, the Skids, and just unconscionable acts, murdering people, anybody that was loyal to the U.S. So we didn't have a plan, and it's obvious we didn't have a plan, and the incompetence level. So what we have right now is either treason or incompetence. Either one of those are unacceptable. We have to hold our elected leaders accountable, and I think it's going to be a hard.
Well, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like everybody knew that they were going to try to get Kamala as president at some point soon, and so this kind of seemed like they put it in front of Biden, who it doesn't even seem like he knows what room he's ever in. So it seems like they just put it in front of him like, oh, this is going to be a political win. Let's pull out of Afghanistan. He's like, where am I? Sorry, that was a mean joke. But clearly he signed it, and it's been a total disaster. And it looks like he's not going to last much longer because, this is objectively a disaster. People on both sides. This is a failure.
I don't think Kamala is the answer to that problem.
No, I don't think she is either. I think she's even scarier because she's more.
So can we talk about the solutions? Let's get back to what we can do and where we can go from here.
Well, right now we're talking about the implications of what's happening in Afghanistan and moving forward. So we're not going to just brush past that.
Here's a solution. So I'll make you both happy.
That's what a U.S. Congressman has to do. And if you can do that, you got my vote.
Okay, you'll have to move to vote for me, but that's just a technical
two.
difficulty.
I'm sorry, I did not mean that. But that's the election controversy. I didn't mean it.
Okay, it's all good. Yes, please don't vote in more than one place, and please just vote once. All right, so just want to get that on the table.
Please, thank you.
Election integrity is also important.
But if you live in Tucson,
Yes, if you live in Tucson,
you want to win.
That's right.
Yeah, Sierra Vista, please.
Kathleen Winn.
Yes, all
for
of that.
Congress.
All right, back to what you're saying. So you've got a president, you've got a vice president, and you've got a Speaker of the House, Ms. Pelosi. And so one of the things this election can do is, and what we're trying to do is take majority of the House. So we have a new Speaker of the House. And therefore, if you push out your president and your vice president, then the Speaker would take over. And I believe that
Pelosi's in
So
charge?
right- But that could happen.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really what they're going for. And if I'm Kamala, I would sleep with one eye open right now because I don't think she's their choice. I think she was put in. I'm hearing, I don't know, this just rumors that the Biden administration, the Bidens and the Harrises don't get along. Like they're not cohesive in what their vision is of this country. She was in Saigon when this went down. Why was she in Saigon? There's the questions about that. Why isn't
That's
she?
very odd.
And why isn't she? She was put in charge of the border. The border's never been a more perilous time than it is right now. So can she really? I don't think that they're trying to move her in. I've heard that, but I disagree. I think they're trying to prop him up so that the people that are really running the government can stay in power. The longer you keep Joe alive, the longer you get to do. I've heard, President Obama's third term. There's different theories as to who's really running the country right now.
Well, I just think the Afghanistan pullout was just such a catastrophic failure. How would anybody think that was going to go well? But
And the question is it a failure or is it a part of a bigger plan to destroy America? And I think that's the question that we have to ask is, you can wring your hands and say, and I agree, it was a mess. We lost 13 wonderful service people that really shouldn't have been lost had we had a plan. And I think that
So how do we fight for America? When people are listening to this, I want them to leave with instructions on this is what we need to do.
Well, one thing that's a massive
To fight for
issue that we
America.
haven't touched on yet that has gone much worse in the past year since the Biden administration took over is inflation. Lumber prices, coffee prices. There's so many things that are up.
The supply chain
300,
is such
400%.
a big deal right now. Every business person that I talked to when I was at the West Valley Defense Alliance this afternoon, everyone is having difficulty with supply chain.
Well, we shut down the country for a year and a half. We didn't manufacture anything. We did the COVID whatever, and I'm not saying COVID wasn't real, but our reaction to it was so extreme, and so COVID has left us. When we manufacture things, we create a backlog or we create product. Well, we didn't create anything because we couldn't allow people to come to work. So now you're building a home.
And then gave people stimulus checks, aka socialism, and now they're expecting it more.
So you have people not returning to work. So that's the other thing. So now we kind of came through that the middle of the summer, but then we've incentivized people not to go to work. So
And they just announced there's more stimulus checks coming out.
Right.
Like, why?
Exactly.
Inflation.
So we
Folks.
came from a time where we were functioning as a country economically at the lowest level of unemployment, highest level of prosperity, low inflation.
Prospering.
Yeah, and so now as you look at it, we are just almost 360 degrees to the other side of that.
Literally just printing money, thinking that that's going to work.
Yeah, so inflation is definitely a side effect of the economic policies, again, of this president. And so, again, we need to, you're asking for solutions.
Yes.
Voters need to get smart about who's running. They need to pick the most conservative candidate in every district. The Republicans should benefit from this incompetence this next election. If ever there was going to be a pushback election, this election should be that. And you need to get to know who
Just because things are so polarized, not even conservative, just whoever's the most pro-America,
Pro-America.
pro-business,
Yes.
pro-success. Yeah,
Capitalism.
Americans doing well.
And America number one.
We don't want people to be shut down and stuck in their houses and not allowed to work and thrive.
Yeah.
So vote for the candidate. They usually are on the right side.
Yeah.
That believe that, but
That
vote
will
for
make
the
America thrive.
And not the right side, the correct side, but
Yeah.
in terms of points of view.
Yes.
There's a liberal point of view and there's a conservative point of view, which we're calling the right. And I think that that's important to understand.
Yes.
You need fiscal responsibility. The printing of money is not fiscally responsible.
No.
And again, and then you've got other
Well, and the
other
thing that's so
factors.
frustrating too is like the just blatant hypocrisy that's on the left. Like how Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he literally signed a mandate shutting down indoor dining in all of California, and later that same night was photographed at a dinner table with like 8 people, and their response was, "Oh, it was outdoors." No, it's not. You can see in the picture, it's literally inside a ballroom. Like that hypocrisy level, that means that he literally thinks that he's above the people that he's governing. That's terrifying.
Well, he's got a recall election, and we'll see how that goes. And we'll see if they have gotten their message out. I think just by the mass exodus of people out of California and just the general condition of their state, California passed a law last year giving the age of consent to 14-year-olds. So if I'm a 14-year-old girl and I'm with an adult male, 25, 35, 45, and I'm asked, I gave my consent.
Are you being serious?
Wait. Repeat.
How is that not bigger news?
Wait, I didn't know that.
That's like terrifying.
Wait, what?
How is that even legal?
It is legal in California.
But I thought, there's no federal laws around that?
There may be, but in California, if you say you've given your consent and you're 14, they have a law that allows that.
That's insane.
And who passed that?
California, their California legislature. So you have state rights and you have federal rights, and that's where this is. But state rights.
Well, no, and then
Why would somebody pass that?
So-
Why would somebody even put that on the ballot?
No, and then okay, do you want to hear another law that passed in California a few years ago that'll literally make your head hurt? Because they started forcing you to have vaccine cards for COVID, which is basically a flu. It is a flu, but they made it legal for people that are actively carrying the AIDS virus to have sex with people and not tell them that they have AIDS. Yeah, because that used to be a felony there.
Yeah,
but they made it legal, so you can just spread AIDS willingly and not tell the other person about it. But
What?
you're not allowed to go to a restaurant if you have COVID or haven't had the vaccine for COVID. Yeah. It's like literally laws like that. Like, or is this not a country for the free anymore? Like, I don't know.
So California is kind of its own country, and it
really is.
has its own GDP and everything else, like bigger than some other countries. So California is, and pretty much the whole West Coast. If you go Washington, Oregon, California, that's pretty much another place on the planet. But that's the benefit of the United States of America, right? But here in Arizona, we're not that. We don't think like that. We're still conservative. We still believe.
And we want to keep it that way.
Yes, I believe so. I think it's in the best interest of our families to have, I have a vision of an America I grew up in. I now have 14 grandkids. I want them to have something similar. There's more technology now. I didn't have a cell phone growing up. By the time I got my first cell phone, I think I had to have a box in my trunk. I was 20-something years old. I mean, I didn't.
brick.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else remembers that.
I remember it well.
Okay, good. You want kids to get the best of the things that are offered right now, the technology. But there's a negative side to everything. Technology is where predators live, right? So again, back to our law enforcement, we want them to have the same technology and be more advanced than the bad guys. And how do we do that as a federal government? How do we ensure that the good actors are playing and we don't suppress speech? Yeah. That's one of the greatest atrocities that have happened in the last few years is you are not hearing. Like you said, well, how did we not hear about that? How did we not hear about that? Well, because the people that are controlling the media and controlling the
gatekeepers of information.
Yes. So you're not hearing the things that are negatively impacting you. And they do have negative consequences. The curriculum in schools, in public schools.
But then they have a freaking COVID death count clock like it's a freaking basketball game to try to get everybody scared.
Well,
What
Right,
the hell?
so-
Trying
true,
to
so-
stoke up the fear.
yeah.
What is wrong with it?
So right now,
That was
I think
funny.
most people feel that the federal government is in complete gridlock because of the bipartisanship.
It's a polarized.
I know from speaking to some folks within Sinema's office, they're freshman senators, and they're struggling as freshman senators. I'm sure you're going to struggle as a freshman congressperson with all these, ideas you have and this, amazing work ethic that you have, and then you're going to have to go deal with those scumbags. Because I'm sorry, you and I think John McCain are the only two politicians, other than the two ladies that I met earlier today, that I didn't check my pockets before I left. Other than that, there's a lot of them are slimy. And how are you going to be able to? You're just this nice, polite, respectable,
brilliant,
right? And
funny.
They're not. How are you going to deal with
Hardworking.
So the good news about being my age
And you're a hero. You saved the children.
and having
Yeah.
thank you, and having accomplished the things I have, I'm not looking to make new friends. I'm looking to change the things that are not working right now.
You're here to save the planet because we're here saving the planet
One show at a time.
You are. You're here. That's what you're
Well,
doing.
I think it's important to. A lot of people go to Washington and the culture changes them. I'd like to be the exact opposite of that. I'd like to go to Washington and change the culture. And mostly, if I look at in the times in my life where I've really thrived, really been successful, is when people told me you can't do that. That's not possible. And then we go and do it. And that's where I get my greatest joy. That's where I get my greatest accomplishments and they're not just, and mostly they're not about anything that I want or need personally. It's about a greater good for the people. And we have to. Homelessness, that's something that
How would you fix that? How would you change?
well, I have an example of that. I founded a homeless shelter in Tucson that's 34 years old. It's
Yay.
been to help
Wow, that's awesome.
thousands of women and children.
It's amazing.
And they get trained and they go out and we stabilize them and they get jobs. And then the veterans joined us, and so they added a veterans component to that. So that's something working.
And that's so amazing for society because that just helps the microeconomy, getting those people back in the workforce, getting them back into housing. That is so amazing for
It's
the
a
local
win-win
economy.
situation.
It
It's a
also-
win-win situation. Kathleen Winn to
It
Congress.
also is a democratic or a Democrat ideal of going out and helping the homeless, and you, as a Republican, did it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Well, it's because she cares. She has good values. She cares about people. She's not just on one side of the aisle.
Well, right. It just
And that's something I want to address because I will be honest, I am Republican, even though we try not to talk politics on the show, but I really care about the environment. I care about the planet. And I think Republicans get a bad rap for not caring about the planet. We don't, Republicans, they're big bad Republicans.
What's
They don't
that?
care about they don't
That's the
care about the
polarization.
environment. They don't care about the ocean. Yes, we do. Can you address that, please, Kathleen Winn?
Sure. So one of the things that we had groundwater, TCE, that was in Tucson many
just
years ago.
had it in at Luke Air Force Base, not
yeah.
this year.
So I believe in cleaning that up. But I also believe that if you are going to impose something, and we talked about this, that everyone needs to get solar. No, everyone doesn't need to get solar. Now, solar has its benefits. But everything needs to be determined by the business owner. We've come to a mandate culture.
See, this is one spot I would disagree with you slightly. Sometimes you need the government to implement a law to force business to evolve. Like when they found out that what was the stuff in hairspray that was ruining the ozone layer? And they were able to evolve and create new hairspray that didn't contain that in that.
Good job.
Sometimes the
That's a good
point. Government has to implement a law.
I totally agree. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying when I totally agree with
to
you.
force business to evolve.
Yeah. But that's like when drug manufacturers, the opioid crisis, the government needed to get involved because we were prescribing for incentivizing. We were incentivizing doctors to prescribe medications that were killing our people.
Yeah.
So the government needed to get involved.
100%.
Okay. So I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and the opioid.
You were saying it much better than I was right there. So thank you.
Well, I was just kind of clarifying on the point a little bit that, most of the time it's best for businesses to evolve on their own, but sometimes there's safety at hand, the government needs to step in and regulate that.
Absolutely.
And the opioid crisis was a perfect example. And it's crazy. It took the FDA, I think they didn't come out and officially say that opioids were like hazardous drug or an addictive drug until 2018. So, and they legalized them in 97. So it took them over 20 years to officially basically recall opioids.
So back to the environment. So Kathleen Winn.
Yeah.
What would you do in Congress? And the show in the green room, we believe that it's the little baby steps. We don't feel like the world is doomed that extreme. Just if everybody does their part, everybody just does a little bit and makes a difference.
We can't have illegal dumping. Look at all the people coming across the border. Look at what that's doing to our state. Just I mean, that's a mess. People kind of gave our AG, Mark Brnovich, a bad rap when he kind of came out and said, hey, they're destroying our desert, but they are. So the federal government has to look to see, are we dumping things? Are we doing things that are going to hurt the general well-being and health, not only of the people, but of our planet? You can't do things that are not to be sustained. So that if they're being done, that we can't get fresh water, that we can't have clean air. If you go to China or their air is terrible. Like,
Oh yeah, horrible air quality.
and they don't regulate that. So we at least regulate those things. We regulate things in mining. So the things that we have that are working, we need to do and improve upon using technologies. I think we have to not be the green police, though, where we go around. There's like these authoritarian people that they're trying to now get you to get a passport for COVID, and
They're also on homeowners association boards.
Oh, God.
100%.
So, and that's the
And they
problem.
never got to be student body presidents at their high school.
That's
right?
right.
And also with the whole
You
immigration.
can't go overboard, and when you go overboard, then you get people to say, I'm not
Right.
doing anything.
Well, and with
You
the
know?
immigration issue, like one thing that is important, like facet of it is that you can't just let every single person migrate here. Like we need to help some of those countries fix their issues where they're coming from, where they're migrating from.
Yes. Yes.
Like, because some of those people, they're leaving their families behind to try to come here to send money back and stuff like that. Like that's like a really problematic thing. You don't want to have those families being separated. We need to try to help those countries, achieve their own economic independence in a way so that those people aren't trying to migrate here in the first place. That's the way to really solve those issues.
And so you probably shouldn't destabilize like a place like Afghanistan.
Right.
Exactly, because that is literally just creating a vacuum of people that need to move somewhere
Right.
and are refugees.
Yeah.
And so we need less zones that are full of refugees like that.
So I'm seeing the future where Kathleen ends up running for president and Chet is the vice president.
I would never want to get into politics.
And I will never run for president. So we're both safe here, okay?
Yeah.
That's a reality that won't happen.
I love music and comedy. I just like to talk politics. And I don't know. I think it's an important thing that everybody should care about if you live in this country, because we shouldn't take it for granted that we have such an amazing system here.
There was so much wisdom in the original founding documents and in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. I think it sustained itself for 250, 70, almost something years. And all I was going to say is that yet right now in this time it's under siege, and we can't concede another we can't do away with that. They've actually tried to get us to redo our history, and they're retelling our history, and we haven't been teaching history. So this generation has no idea how we got to be the country that we are. And we need to bring that back.
Have to bring it back.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that's kind of why I consider myself a libertarian, because I think like the Constitution is how we should govern, like, and that bare bones nature of governing with like just small government is, I think, the best way to go. Just everybody should have the freedom to choose how they want to live their lives.
Well, and if you think about what the founding founders put on the line when they started this country, they were
amazing.
They put it all on the line, and many of them ended up penniless. They didn't end up heroes. They weren't. They lost everything to do that.
Yeah, and they would have literally been tortured if they had lost.
Right.
But
So
we
they were
are
putting-
recognizing heroes, and I do think that Kathleen Winn is a hero because you really have saved so many children, and that is on your
and the
that's
homeless
on your
shelter
bucket
and the
list.
homeless shelter. That's so amazing.
That's just one of the many things that you've
Yeah.
done. That's why
It's
I'm
incredible.
glad you're bringing that up,
Right?
Kinga, because we probably won't have time today to go over all of it, but look it up. I'm sure you've got it on your website.
We have 15 minutes.
Oh, we do have
Okay.
15? Okay,
We have
good.
15 minutes.
Then, yeah, tell us a little bit about the other things that you've done, because I think that's important for the listeners
my
to
current
hear.
effort, I'm executive director of Project 25, and Project 25's mission is to end sexual exploitation by 2025.
And define that for people that don't understand that.
Sex trafficking, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, but really anybody that's being forced through fraud or coercion to perform sex acts or that are being sexually abused.
And is it mostly our children?
It's not mostly our children, but when it happens to a child, you've now changed dramatically the kind of life that they're going to live. And so this last legislative session, I helped co-author a bill that got passed where if you have sex with a 12-year-old or use a 12-year-old in a porn film, you, if convicted, go to jail for the rest of your life.
I love that.
Yeah, and some people...
that it should happen.
But children, it is happening now. If you take someone's innocence, you can never give innocence back. And we also have kids in foster care, and they inordinately become victims of trafficking because they don't have a strong family structure. So we've attacked Christian values in this country for quite some time. And if you start to look at a culmination of all these different things that are happening, you can see that our way of life has been being attacked. So it's important to restore families and restore good family values
And Christian values.
And Christian values.
Oh, God bless America.
Yeah, and so in Arizona right now we have 342 missing children that are tracked. We have 3,000 Native American children in Arizona that are not being tracked and followed because they don't report them. But those are estimates.
It's unbelievable.
And unfortunately, our missing children disproportionately are children of color, Hispanic and Black children are. So of our missing children, we have more children of color that are missing. And
so
that's,
people that are listening, how can they make a difference with that issue right there?
so how do kids go missing? Kids go missing because they pretty much meet somebody online. And they think they're going to some place that's good or fun or more exciting or getting them away, especially, well, I won't say especially, Native American kids don't want to live on the reservation. And there are kids that are in a bad situation. So they go from being in a bad situation thinking that running away would be better, and they end up in a worse situation. Because people that are that see kids that are homeless, that run the streets, they know that you don't belong there. And they'll say, oh, I'll take care of you. But then they have the kids performing things and doing things within just a matter of weeks for survival, for food, for shelter. So we have to do a better job of keeping our kids in the house, even children that are in good homes. So it doesn't just happen to poor kids. It doesn't just happen to foster care kids. Kids from very well-to-do homes will walk out the front door and think they're going with a boyfriend or going to a modeling career or doing something. So we have to make parents aware of who
So
are
parents need to not let their kids be online where it's not supervised.
right, and knowing who they contact. You can check your kids. And one of the things I say is put a tracker on your kid's phone. Even if the phone's shut off, we now have technology where we can find kids that have their phone shut off.
Great advice.
Yeah, we need to take better care of our kids. That's not to say, and I have had great parents, really good parents that love their kids, lose their kids. This year so far, we've returned 7 kids back to their parents that went missing.
That's amazing.
And just
it's terrifying.
It was giving me chills as we were
Well,
driving
that's just
here.
amazing.
It is
You
terrifying.
reunited those kids with their parents, though.
It is amazing, and that's why she is a hero. Just as we were driving here to the
I mean,
studio,
that's 7 lives literally saved.
she was on the phone with a mother that has her daughter missing for 2 years. And I'm listening to the mother as she's talking to her, and I'm thinking, Kathleen Winn is a total hero.
Yeah.
She's rescuing these kids. She's helping these parents. It's
Giving
unbelievable.
hope to the parents as well.
Yes.
And I'm not, and honestly, the police are rescuing the kids. I just tried to connect
You're the liaison.
the coordinating the resources. I tell people it's all God stuff. It's all I try
is
to
all
do.
God in
I
you.
try to be a good steward with what we have, and we need to be more conscious of what are the things that aren't working and how. And that again, that's not political, right? We
Yeah.
can fix problems.
Yeah. And that's another reason we need to get you in Congress, because then you'll have more resources at your hands to fight such a important issue as sex trafficking. Like, that's one of the most evil things that are in society that we need to eradicate and just stomp out.
Right. And porn. So there's pornography. It's the
Does that go hand in hand?
it normalizes. So it makes, if you look at porn and you watch porn, it normalizes that way of thinking. It's like, and I was with 1,200 kids over the weekend up in Prescott, all college freshmen, and I shared with them, porn is fake, love is real, fight for love, and you have to understand that if you start to point out habits and things that kids are doing. Hypersexualization. We've got young girls selling their body parts online, making $10,000 a month. Why? Because there's
Some of them make $100,000 a month. It's crazy.
There's a market for that. Why is there a market for that? Pornhub, which is like the Amazon or the Netflix of porn, makes more money than Amazon and Netflix and Google and all the major sports teams put together. So we have a porn problem more than we have.
So
anything.
Kathleen Winn, as Congressman, how could you eradicate that?
Well,
Or work on that? Is there a way?
I would do that with the phone system. So
See, I think
I would opt
obviously if
out.
people are of a consenting age, if they're over 21 or 18, whatever it is in their state, and they want to be an actress or, nude model,
That's fine.
I think that's something they should
them do what
legally
they
be
want.
allowed to pursue, because also, I don't know, it's a sad truth, but there are some guys out there that are just never going to find a woman. You know what I mean? Like, their title is like incels or whatever. Like, they're
And if they were-
just not the type that are ever going to get.
Well, I do agree with Chet that if somebody's over 21, they're an adult, and whoever's 21, if they want to have whatever they want to do, gay, lesbian, multiple partners, that's their deal. But children,
no.
no.
And the law agrees with you if you're
Yeah.
over 21. The problem.
Because I have a friend that's she does like some lingerie modeling and it's tasteful and she makes a very good amount of money doing it. Like, she does magazine shoots and stuff. And
Yeah.
I personally would never do that, but I'm like, you know what? That's her freedom to go chase that
At 21.
Yeah, 100%.
And
That's-
I'm not a prude. What you have though is you have 5-year-olds that can get to porn in 2 clicks,
and that needs to
That
be
needs to
as
change.
illegal as anything.
yeah. So
That needs to change.
I think that's an important clarification
Yeah.
as well.
Oh yeah, that was the clarification
Yeah.
I was trying to make.
Yeah, and then you asked the question about what would I do in Congress. So just to
Thank you.
So in Congress, I would do laws that make the person that's giving the phone out, that if it's going to go in the hand of the child, that you have to opt into those services and make sure that parents have controls over their kids' phones. What happens now is parents are paying for their teenagers' phones, and if teenagers send inappropriate things, that's dissemination of porn. So if you're a parent and you don't know what your kid's sending on their phone, you could go to jail
You could be culpable. Yes.
yeah, exactly. So again,
And that's good.
Yeah, if you're an adult and you've gotten to 21, and that's fine. Then you're absolutely right. Go for it.
Yeah.
But just don't impose all of that on my children and my
Yeah,
grandchildren.
100%.
And that's all I'm asking.
And
I agree.
And I think there should be some kind of an accessibility. Like, it shouldn't be so easy to go find those bad videos. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, the government is gatekeeping the internet. Like, why are you able to find those videos? You shouldn't be able to.
Well, and the sad thing is, if you're a young child or you're a teenager and you want to fit in, and that's what the culture is saying to do, now you're doing that.
What about if we had? Oh my gosh! I just think I had an invention, and I hope nobody takes my invention. But what?
Maybe
if,
don't say it on the air then. No.
What if we had phones that are for 21 and younger, and phones that are for 21 and older, and the ones that are for 21 and younger, there's no way they can even access anything bad. There you go, bingo.
That's great as long as the platform, but the platform has to agree to do that, and that's where we've been fighting. Can you see Verizon willing to do that, or any of these other platforms?
Well, it could
Well,
be
you've gotta
some
have
kind of a
parents that are
parent
willing.
policy. Like, if the parents are paying for their kids' phones, the parents could be like some kind of a gatekeeper on the content.
Right.
Like,
But that's what we've been exactly. So I've tried a couple times in the last few years to pass legislation where people have to opt in if they want the porn. You want the porn, have the porn, go for it. But everyone gets the porn now, and everyone doesn't want it. And it causes addictions. It hurts marriages. There's a lot of things.
Oh, it definitely causes addictions. I have some friends that I've basically had to tell them, dude, you need to go out and meet some girls.
Yeah, but
You're not in a relationship with your computer, man. Come on.
But Viagra used to be for people 60 and older. Now you've got 22-year-olds taking it. But why is that? Because
It'll make them impotent.
Yeah.
We've actually we did a show on that. We had an expert on here that said that when men watch too much, or boys, men, whatever age you're at, and they think that's reality, they will go impotent.
right, right.
So back to the issues. How do you feel about gun laws?
Well, I'm a big, strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
I am too.
And we should have a right to bear arms. And again, you need to be able to protect yourself, especially if we don't have enough police, right? So you have to, know how to use your gun.
As Robert Heinlein said, an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, I like it. And I think Arizona's got.
Good job, Martin.
I think Arizona's got one of the best places to own guns and be a gun owner.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that you should have to go get a gun license, though. We have to go get driver's license.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's harder to get a driver's license than to get a gun license. Think about that. Because a gun's a killing machine. A car's a transportation machine. Yeah, you have to do an hour test at the DMV for your car. But right now I could walk into a Walmart and be like, yo, give me that pistol right there. And I go, okay. So I think that you should be able to bear arms and you should legally be able to buy guns. But they need to have some kind of a test to make sure you're not a nutso. To make sure you're not
that's
crazy.
a good idea.
I
That's
think
a good idea.
I think they do mental health checks, and I think so you don't get to just walk into and I don't think Walmart sells guns anymore, by the way. But I think,
they don't?
No.
Oh,
No, I think they took them out.
Chet doesn't shop at Walmart.
So anyway,
Well, it used to be the place. If you want a gun for
He
cheap, go
shops
to
at
Walmart.
the Goodwill because he's saving the planet
Yeah.
one
One
show at a time.
time.
So, Kathleen, how would you implement stricter restrictions on people getting their guns?
I wouldn't even call it a restriction, just a license. Just have a gun license. Why is that not a thing?
I think they do background checks. And
Well, there's the
Arizona, you can go to a gun show and just buy guns for cash if you have your
Yeah,
ID.
I think you can.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's an individual right from person to person, right?
Yeah.
And yes, you could go on either side because the Second Amendment doesn't say anything about licenses.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the difficult balance
I know, but
between government
we
and
have
freedom.
to have some kind of a response to the nutsos that have just been getting their hands on a gun and
absolutely
walking
right.
into a crowd and shooting everyone they see.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But most of those nutsos got, some of them didn't get the guns legally. They stole the guns or they borrowed the guns from a family member who got them legally. The young man that killed all the children back in, I think it was Connecticut. With all
Sandy
the-
Hook, yeah.
Sandy Hook. It was his mom's gun.
Right.
He was crazy. Jared Loughner, he was crazy. That wasn't his gun.
Right.
That was a family member's gun. So I think you can do those restrictions. Chicago, Illinois has the most gun laws in the country. Do you know how many people die there each weekend?
It's terrible.
It is, and they have
hundreds of people get shot.
But those restrictions don't
Right.
help.
And it's not the
That's a
laws.
good point, 'cause
It's-
that's very true.
It's people doing things like what you're doing is
I'm
addressing
not
mental
saying
health,
it-
addressing children, because it's the children, right, that are growing up in these and have amazing traumas that are the ones that are doing this.
So
And
they need
it's
a- they
addressing
need a life
I'm not
coach.
saying, I'm not saying the
They definitely-
restrictions.
They need Martin Einer, the life love coach.
I'm not saying the restrictions
counseling.
or implementing some kind of a gun license would fix it whatsoever. I'm just saying it could keep one gun out of the wrong person's hands, and that would be enough.
Yeah.
That would be enough.
True.
Yeah.
True.
The problem is when something doesn't happen though, and you've prevented it, then there's no
you don't know.
that you
Yeah.
prevented it, and it's true for a lot of things. But I think that I do agree that we need to do the very best that we can to check people's background and to criminal background and mental health background.
Yeah, it's really both issues, 100%. Like, if there's any kind of track record of violence, that person
Right.
shouldn't have a weapon.
Well, and I think you're seeing too with the background checks is that the federal government has started to link databases, and so the CIA is talking to the FBI, is talking to the local. I mean, I was in that industry for 25 years, and the technological advancement that I've seen. Just going to the trade shows, the stuff that they show people like me is amazing versus what they don't show us. So I think there is a response. I don't know, again, like you say, you're libertarian to say that, you don't want to put too big of government, right? But it falls on the people. We are the people of the people, by the people, right? And so it's all of us starting to help each other, and all of us starting to do things like this podcast, like running for public office,
Making a difference, getting
making a
out
Bringing
difference.
awareness to these issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I met two of your contemporaries who are running for governor and secretary of state, and these ladies don't want to be in politics, but they are passionate about helping people. They've been helping people their entire lives, and now they see a platform to be able to step up and basically fix what all the men screwed up.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to get back on the same page of like, we want America to be winning and be amazing and be great. We want everybody else to win too. Like,
Yes.
we don't want to push
wanna
anybody else
create
down.
win-win situations.
Literally.
And Kathleen Winn is a win-win situation for Congress.
Absolutely.
That works. I didn't even realize I was walking into that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. But I just, if I can, just share with you a story. So when I was
Of course.
a senior in college, U of A, proud Bear Down Wildcat, I got to go to the Olympics, and I got a seat at the USA-Russia hockey game in Lake Placid.
Wow.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It was. And what was so
Wow.
amazing,
Wow.
because that was a miracle, because we weren't supposed to win, right? The Russians were supposed to clean our clocks. And after that game, I still can remember to this very day, walking outside in Lake Placid and people hanging out of windows, and just, it was like we had won a war. And there were but it wasn't about hating the Russians as much as it was having American pride. And that pride for our country, and that pride for who we were as a people, and just that we could pull something off because we all worked together, and that team came together and at the right moment, and we got to just be successful. And it was so, I can still feel it today. Like that was 1980. Okay, so I'll just and I will tell you that we need to get back to that. We're ashamed of being Americans. We're ashamed of.
So Kathleen, on that note,
yeah,
this is a great segue. I feel like kids kids go to college.
Well, on that
And-
note,
and-
people are trying to shame people for being Americans, but us in this room, we're proud as hell to be American.
We're so proud to be American,
Yeah.
and all my friends are. I would say like 98% of my friends are proud to be American, and the 2% they might be.
And
Except
we've
flawed.
remained a beacon of freedom throughout all this COVID. So many
Yes.
other countries have turned into like basically like almost like, what is the word I'm looking for?
Military
Reckless.
state.
Military states,
Yeah.
literally, where you can't have a single person over to your house, like even.
But
if
my
you're
question
dying.
is, we all feel like when we send our kids to university, somehow they're indoctrinated by these teachers to be anti-American. Why is that? And you as Congressman, Congresswoman, how would you change that?
Well,
Because it's a big problem.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like, because
I think it is
I went
true.
to Cal Poly Slow for 2 years. Do I seem indoctrinated? That's a pretty liberal school.
I think your freshman year, you did come back and you were a little bit.
Did you hug trees in your
You,
freshman
you were
year?
kind of a little bit on the fence.
No, not at all.
So, what do you think of that?
I think that by far, the liberals have taken over the college education
Oh,
system.
100%. It definitely leans very far left, but people need to be taught how to critically think so that they're not brainwashed by anybody, no
Well,
matter which way they lean.
What I said in my ad, which I'll just say, is we need to teach people how to think, not what to think.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Oh, repeat that again.
we need to teach people, especially young people, how to think, not what to think.
Yes.
And what the indoctrination piece is telling people what to think. You need to do this. You have to do this. You must do this, as opposed to saying, here's the science. If you have antibodies versus a vaccine, because they're two different conversations, and they both have science behind them. But we're not hearing the one science conversation. We're only hearing it for one particular track. And I think that there's science on going green. There's science on so many different things, but we're not getting the benefit of hearing both sides so people can legitimately make a decision for themselves. We're saying this is the path, this is the right way. Cancel culture is a perfect example of people not thinking for themselves. Mm-hmm. And we've done it on both sides. Both sides are guilty. So we have to start to give people their facts and let people think for themselves. And where the biggest breakdown occurs is when we have somebody who thinks they're their authority telling us how we need to think and what we should be doing. And that is really at the heart of the friction.
And what do you think about that, Martin Einer, being the life coach?
Oh, I agree. I think it's all about everyone gets in their egos, starts to see what it's in it for them, and thinks that everyone else should be doing what they're doing, versus this is the country of not doing that. And so it creates a lot of friction, especially with the antagonism that politics has created over the last, say, 50 years. It has just gotten dirtier and dirtier, although even Mark Twain said it was pretty dirty back then too. But for whatever reason, probably because of the internet, because everything is so 24/7 all the time versus, Congress people would have to send out telegrams. It's a little bit different as far as, that kind of thing. But it's so polarizing. And it's just like those things of, well, the Democrats believe this and the Republicans believe that's just not true.
It's not true.
You got to bring us together. So,
Right.
Kathleen Winn, we have about one more minute left. Tell us how you're going to bring us together. And how
tell us how people can, donate to your campaign, find your campaign, all that stuff.
And your charities.
So
Yes.
Thank you. So winforcongress.com, WINN, we have an extra N. Winforcongress.com is my website, and you can find everything there. Project25.org is my nonprofit. Both, they do different things, but we will try to make everything go in the right direction. I think that the best thing that I can ask people to do in terms of bringing people together is to put the problem first and bring whatever ideology you have, but be willing to hear another side or another point of view. We have suppressed free thought
Yes.
forever.
And conversation.
And our best, I have friends that are Democrats. I love them.
I do
will
too.
always love them because I loved them before I knew to hate them, and I don't hate them.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing is this new mentality of people being like, oh, I don't like what you're saying, we're going to mute you, or like how they
hate
kicked
you.
Trump off of Twitter. Like, he should still be on Twitter.
I do agree with that.
Like,
That's free speech.
People should be able to see what he wants to say.
Will he be able to get back on there?
I don't know.
Okay,
We're
back to
gonna find out.
Kathleen.
All I want to say is that the best solutions come from a collaborative effort. That one person doesn't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to listen and bring people together so that people can have an exchange of thought and dialogue. And then from that, I will ultimately have to make a decision, but hopefully I will have included enough different people thinking from different points of view that the solution is the best solution, not a political decision.
Thank you. And,
pragmatic one.
And also, if you're talking to a Democrat, how would you convince them to vote for you?
Well, I can't. They can't vote for me until I get into the general election. But I think when we get to the general election, I will be the candidate that speaks the best to all people who want a free America, who want a safe America, and who want America that's going to be prosperous, and we return to sound economic policies. I am that person. I am that candidate. Win for Congress.
Win for Congress.
It's a win-win situation. Kathleen Winn.
And when we're strong, that's when we can help those other countries out and make the world a better place. So.
Absolutely.
Saving the planet
One show at a time.
It's a win-win situation with Kathleen Winn.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
That was fun.